Welcome, Edward Ghafari. So good to see you. Edward, really happy to have you. You're one of those very few who can really claim that you know AI, right? There's a lot of fuss today, but I don't think I've met anyone like you in the consulting world with that level of knowledge. So you are the founder, president, and CEO of ICES Corporation, a consulting firm with AI, tattooed at the heart and DNA of the company. It's a conversation that you've been in for 30 years, I believe. And you have two PhDs from George Washington University, where you're also adjunct faculty, and you did your postdoc at MIT. So I think the pedigree can go on. I will let you introduce yourself, now. But again, a real pleasure to have you, an honor. And please share everything that you can for our audience. They will relish in what you have to say.
As you said, I live in Washington, D.C. My journey started in a small country in the Middle East called Lebanon. I migrated in the early 80s to study, and then eventually I joined the U.S. Navy to serve and learn complexity and complex systems. My undergraduate is in electrical engineering, so I ended up learning about complex systems, and I did my graduate studies and doctorate degree first time in systems engineering. And after my tour in the Navy, I got out working in the government and defense industry. So I ended up working supporting the U.S. Navy, the French Navy, the Saudi Navy, through the U.S. Navy. I did spend some time in France, in Toulon, and Brest, and Paris, working with them. Then, after a few years in the government defense industry, the internet was in its infancy and I was a disruptor. I tend to be at the forefront of technology. I was doing research in space. So I ended up having 3 patents in the internet technologies, specifically DSL, that led me moving into the startup venture and Silicon Valley venture. So I ended up joining a startup in Dallas that we took it public and eventually sold it to Siemens for over $1 billion in the late 90s. And I did so another venture. Then I came back to government defense industry, early 2000s. I was an executive in the industry and then decided to do my startup about 17 years ago, and it's strong and going, helping mostly government, but some commercial as well.
Yeah.
So I have a foot in the government because they have complex problems to solve, and I have a foot in industry, especially startups. I also been always heavily involved in academia, so I did a good tenure at GW, studying both engineering and AI and cybersecurity as well. I did a long tenure at MIT. Most of my folks at MIT was artificial intelligence. And I also did a couple of years at UC Berkeley
Mm.
at the Haas School of Business, also from a technology point of view. So I've spent a good time in studying. And if you're to define me in a couple of words, I'm a futurist and a systems thinker.
Yes.
So that's what I do. So it has been on my radar for a long time. I first studied in undergraduate and then graduate. Then I did as it evolves in the current form, which is machine learning and deep learning. And, I jumped in with both feet in it. I did jump in other technologies like quantum computing, which is fascinating, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time before we can realize any commercial utility out of it.
Mm.
There are a few other technologies that was involved in as well. And, some mature in time, some don't mature. You tend to focus on, do your assessment and decide which ones you got to focus on and lead the way. So AI is front and center for me today, as internet was 30 years ago. And the 3 areas of AI is the research on the engineering side, pushing the envelope of moving AI from its current state to more being more intelligent, more what they call AGI. So you still need a few technologies to get there. About 4 or 5 technologies. We're not fully there. If they tell you we're fully there, they're trying to sell you something. So on the engineering technology, we have a few areas we need to advance in. I look at it from an economic point of view because all of our economy is invested in it, and AI is not just the software; it's
Yeah.
the hardware, the infrastructure, the silicon, the energy, and everything. And it's impacting the job markets. It's impacting how we live our life and how we measure economic success. The third dimension I look at is from a psychology and sociology point of view.
Sure.
It's how we relate to it and how it relates to us, how well we depend on it and not depend on it. As you mentioned, you gave a talk at the World Bank, and I had a debate with the general counsel of the World Bank, and everybody's afraid of it. And everybody say, oh, it's going to take over everything. And I said, no, you don't, in building complex systems and mission critical systems, You only allow the machine to take control when you absolutely must and have no other choice. Otherwise, the machine, like AI, is should be a decision support system, and you are the
Absolutely.
decision maker.
So you're jumping ahead a little bit. So let me ask you one
Yeah,
question to start with. No,
sure,
no, no. I mean, we could listen to you for
sure,
hours, okay?
sure.
It's very, very fascinating. So one thing is you've had this big journey in technology, okay, from telecom DSL to quantum computing and AI today, as you were saying. So what was the most significant aha moment for you in your career that shaped your system thinking approach to technology and business? Because I think some of the
Yeah.
answers you already provided, show very clearly the power of system thinking. So I'd like to know what was the root, what was the moment of transition?
Honestly, my time in the Navy, I was stationed on an aircraft carrier. An aircraft carrier consisted back then of 5,500 men. There were no women, and it needed a support ship, the support system of 13 ships, and they have to all work in cohesion, whether it's wartime or peacetime. I mean, you combat the sea.
Sure.
And this is machinery, people, and processes working together.
Mhm.
So the level of complexity is extremely high. That's not something you learn in school. And that's when I kind of focused on how do you solve problems like this. So you go beyond the military. You look about any government system, any policy you put in place, that
Yes.
may have impact, into the future. How do you deal with it? How do you model it? How do you understand it? So I ended up continuing my studies in the space. Out of the Navy, I ended up working for the government defense industry, and I was the young buck. I was in my mid 20s, and I was working for a company called SAIC, which was an up and coming company doing very well. And they were dealing with these types of complex systems. And I got introduced to the domain of systems engineering with them, and I found it overwhelming but fascinating at the same time. So I dove into it fully.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
then from that important perspectives, okay,
Mhm.
we can't say new, but because it's been going on for years, but I mean, that's still kind of new to the world. Very few people think
Yeah.
systemically.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people think systematically, but not
Mhm.
systemically.
Right.
So for you, the work that you do with ICES Corporation to deliver advanced AI solution, what do you think is the one piece that companies are missing about AI today
Uh,
when it comes to adoption?
Understanding that it's moving fast, understanding it's a disruptor at so many levels. What they're missing is they need to adopt it today, and they need to learn how to learn it to work with it. It's gonna change. It's gonna morph into in different directions, but you have to be very comfortable with it. And the number one thing I tell people internally or and externally, you need to learn, and you need to learn how to learn and keep up with learning because that's the only way you can survive. I don't foresee in the near future that AI will take over our jobs the way we think. What will happen is AI amplifies people who are using it, and
Yep.
these people will take our jobs.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, adopt it, start using it, experiment with it is a key.
Yeah, yeah, we agree. We see the same things at the human company. Actually, those who are learning it and diving into it, having the courage to unlearn, to relearn, and to understand that it's a totally different environment, which is radical, very radical, are the winners, and they're not being replaced.
Yeah.
So anyway, how do you differentiate between AI as a decision support tool versus a decision system, and why is that distinction critical for successful AI integration?
Because you should trust only when you must. Otherwise, you verify. It's in everything we do in life. Whether you get it on a plane, the fact that there's a pilot and his life or her life is at risk as much as yours, you trust him to flying the plane. Even if the AI can fly the plane better than the pilot, there's this psychology that you think about: Do I trust this machine to fly me, even though it's trained properly? Or is there a mistake somewhere, that's hidden and it's surface or then surface or so in everything we do in life, you still have to have a human being as much as possible who owns the problem and owns the risk. You go to a doctor, and AI today in many ways is trained on the experience of many doctors. Chances are the diagnosis they're going to give you may be better than the doctor you're dealing with. But the
Mhm.
doctor using AI and the doctor who assessing all aspects of it and all angles of the problems that you have with AI will probably be a safer bet for you.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
So now let's discuss about you, the owner of a business and having the responsibility of its growth.
Mhm.
So looking ahead, what do you see are the primary growth levers for ICES Corporation in the next 3 to 5 years, and especially maybe within the private equity portfolio companies niche? That
So ICS, so we've had some serious success in the past. and we've made enough money, so we're investing in companies. Where one arm of the company is like a small venture fund.
Yeah.
So we're engaged with a number of startups. We funded some, we'll fund some more. So one side of ICS is still solving problems, complex problems,
Yeah.
and being at the leading edge and being futurists. Another arm of ICS is being educators, mentors, and investors in the companies. And I expect that second piece of it to grow and flourish.
You have how many? 100 people working in the consulting arm?
About, about,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. In different space, in different
Yes,
locations, right?
yes,
Around the US.
yes.
Yeah. Around the US.
Mainly around the US. Some of them travel overseas, but yeah, mainly around the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah. 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 So how do you get these 100 people stay on their toe and integrating and internalizing the disruption that AI brings in the way they
So
work?
So you have different people that move at different space.
Yeah.
And I, like everybody else around me, have had the challenges. People are people. Some want to learn, some pretend that they want to learn, some just refuse to learn. And you have to make the hard decision which ones to empower, which ones to nudge, and which ones to shake hands and go your separate ways. I mean, because the business is not going to continue in what they offer, and the business is changing in front of us. And in the US, we have something called employment at will, at least in Virginia. You know, if we shake hands, we work together. If we don't want to work together, we shake hands, go our own separate ways. So yeah, no, I've had my challenge of turning people over and around, and after giving them a chance, and the 2 and 3 and 4 into learning and guiding them and feeding them and paying for their education. They
Yeah.
either want to learn or don't want to learn. I mean, I think the workforce is going to be split into these two types of people: people who want to learn and experiment and do things, and they'll
Yeah.
succeed. People who are going to say, no, it's not for me. It's too scary. It's too much. It's too, and they're going to struggle.
Yeah. So you open the door to challenges. Okay. So what would you say is the most significant pain points or challenges that you anticipate at ICS Corporation that you'll need to overcome to achieve that next level of growth on the
And that was it. The willingness for everybody to learn
Mhm.
and want to learn. And I found that no, it was not, I could not convince all of them. Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh. And for those who are willing, how do you boost that? Because that's still
I,
faster than
so,
ever
yeah.
before.
So first of all, I tell them at least 20% of your productive time should be focused on learning, and up to probably 50% if you're brave enough and aggressive enough. Second of all, sit together with them and give them kind of a path to what areas may be good for them to learn. And I have educational programs and educational subscriptions that they can jump on. I have them work in cohorts together. Sometimes I lead the cohorts, sometimes others would lead them. And we have discussions on a weekly basis of what works, what doesn't work, and where the state of industry is heading, and what areas they should focus on, learn, and share the knowledge with each other.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's really like being back at the university working in the group projects, and it's like being back in a startup. And I mean, you have to stay in a startup mentality to survive.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So
so yeah.
startup, 100 people, it's not a small startup, it's a mature startup.
So it ends up being groups and pockets. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
probably about 25 are the ones who are active and very active.
So you focus on those.
Yeah. And so the other thing is I have a network of up and coming students who are graduating. I stay in touch with. I mentor a number of people even outside the company, and whether it's through the universities, not just one, or through industry or friends of friends, or.
Mhm.
So you kind of try to grow your community. You end up building community. Some people go in certain directions and they're successful on their own, or go to
Oh,
another company and do very well. I've had graduates that went to work for Amazon, for Google, for some good startups, and they're doing well. And, we stay friends forever and function that way. The beauty about it is I have people of all ages, anywhere between 20 to about my age, or probably a little bit older, that I work with and mentor. And yeah, you know,
it seems to be a lot of your time, right? On the people side.
it's definitely very time consuming. In fact, all of my time, let's put it this way. Yeah,
Is
all of my
dedicated to
time.
this. Yeah, I can hear that. Well, your insights on the people problem, on the system thinking, and on AI as not being the threat to people in terms of numbers, but much more in terms of attitude and staying on top of it, verifying and putting your trust when you know you can, which is most likely very rarely so. Okay. So really staying on it. And all of this is it's gold for us. You're just talking to the choir when it comes to system thinkings and people, the human company, you can imagine. There's no other way to work with individuals than with that system thinking to really get to the engagement, level of engagement. So I really appreciate tremendously everything you said. I would love to have you back maybe in a year, see
Sure. Yeah.
as AI evolves, maybe 6 months, given the space of things.
It's moving very fast, but the principles don't change. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Peter Senge, read Peter Senge's book, Fifth Discipline, and one of the disciplines is continuous learning. And systems thinking doesn't change,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
engineering complex systems doesn't change. We're just applying new tools and new techniques.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. And behaviors and human behaviors tend to gravitate
Human
towards the
behavior
same
doesn't change
place.
much either. Yeah, yeah.
Very much the same. Well, thank you very much, Edward. I really appreciate, and I feel like it's not enough time, but we'll repeat. Yeah, we'll repeat. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.